Welcome back to From Corporate to Cashflow, where Andrea Cannon and Liz Schwab, two pharmacists navigating the process of building time and financial freedom through real estate investing and lending while working our day jobs. Navigating the journey is difficult, but our podcast guests are experts in showing us how it's done. And today we have Aaron Kirkham. Aaron, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we really appreciate it. And Liz is off today, so I am going to kick it off with learning a little bit more about your journey into real estate. Like, tell us where you got started and where you are today.
Yeah. Um, my parents grew up. I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, and they did a lot of commercial real estate and a little bit of residential on the way. And really, just kind of seeing that entrepreneurial life. That's always what I wanted. And I went to college and got a degree, I should say. I was going to say degrees. I am not an education type of person, regrettably. Um, I love education. Let me clarify. I love it. I just standardized schooling has always been challenging for me. But I always thought I would want to work for mommy and daddy in mommy and daddy's business. But I elected once I graduated to go for 10 years and work for other people to see what I wanted to do in life. Really, because I knew I'd always have a job back home if I really needed it, right?
Yeah.
And I basically e-commerce is what I got into, worked for various different companies. On that path, realized I did not love being an employee. And I was a terrible employee. I apologize to my employers who, ironically, of the three jobs that I had prior to becoming an entrepreneur, strategically and or by sheer dumb luck, I quit the weeks before I was going to get fired in each
Oh my
instance.
gosh.
That I found all that out later, with friends and old managers and stuff. But I was not the world's best employee at all times. I was very dedicated in the beginnings because it was fun and exciting, and then the luster of it faded off. So, anyways, we moved to Mexico, working for some jobs down there, and then came back to the United States. Just bought a home that was a little bit bigger. Tried that whole Airbnb gig thing, and then from there, we've launched a company specific for short-term rental management and vertically integrated of helping people find the home, buy the home, rehab the home, and manage it in the long term. So that's a real brief overview.
That's awesome. But man, I can't believe you made it 10 years if you didn't love it. Like, that's pretty, I mean, wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, I should clarify. I mean, I think that was the plan, and I think I only made it like 6 or 7. So uh, I mean, it was longer than a day. It was longer than a year or so. But I mean, in that whole time frame, I was so desperate to be an entrepreneur that I actually have a little graphic that I created that I just keep in my office. It shows all of the companies that I've created and their logos, and I am 1 in 13 for my own startup, but which realizing at the end of the day, you just need one. I mean, yes, we all want all the companies, but when you're trying to strive for a dream, and I mean, for all those who are out there who you want to get out of it, just remember you just need one. You just need one stream of income to replace what you're doing, which then can open up the next or the next from that standpoint. So keeping the goal small of just I need one to hit. Because at the time, I also at one point we had 4 different companies and we were trying all these things and very successfully failing at all of it. Um, so yeah.
Was it all in real estate or how did you pick like real? I know now you're in real estate. So how did you pick that specifically?
Yeah, I so initially after college, I got a degree in marketing and with a minor in Spanish, and I got hired in for a company down in Mexico, and we moved down there with our family doing marketing for cruise lines, and I was a liaison between the cruise lines and 27 different island retail locations, and and in that process, like I just learned that I didn't. And I loved people, I love associating that way, but I struggled with having a boss. Yet again, that was just part of it. Um, but on that path, like I also realized one of my managers also he had his own business that was e-commerce, and so I kind of landed into that. And then when we moved back to the United States, I joined an incubator basically where we launched brands and then would sell those companies. And it was just really intriguing. So I tried several e-commerce based businesses because I was there and the infrastructure was there. And my Dan Beck was my a mentor. He was my boss, but I really look at him as a mentor. He was very entrepreneurial based, and yeah, as long as you get the work done, do what your thing is. And So I tried a few different things. I did Amazon Pirates, which is where, long story short, there's ways that you can get inventory from other people and then resell it. And it's the gray area of ethics, though it is following the law. My wife didn't love it, and it just was hard to always find continuous inventory. It was similar to drop shipping, for lack of a better explanation. And then tried to launch our own brand. My wife was relatively successful in soccer, and so we did a soccer brand as well as a training brand, and we had some success with that, but just the longevity of it. And then landed in real estate just because I always knew it from my parents. And so we just, long story short, we just bought a home that was bigger than what we needed. And like I mentioned, just tried that whole Airbnb gig thing, because that's literally how we looked at it. We had a studio. People walk in our front door, say hello to my kids, and then walked into a studio. And it was so much more money than I ever imagined. I thought we would make $200 a month. And our first month we made $4, our second we made $8, and our third we made $1,200. And I was like, this is wild. For a bed on bricks, ugly beige room that I did a terrible job rehabbing. So we had a mother-in-law apartment next to it, which my brother-in-law was in, which I kicked him out. And then we had another home that we just had a long-term rental in and converted that. And then that was so much fun. It was so exhilarating because it was real revenue and all those things. And it was a huge distraction for my work. And my work had a number of meetings with me encouraging me to work and not work for myself, which was appropriate. I totally get it there. Now that I employ people, I'm like, man, I was terrible. Anyways, from there, we just then had conversations of like, I have a house, could you do it for me? And then realized that there was a management arm to it, and launched a management business.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the backstory of that. And it's so funny how, Airbnb from before, I'm just going to call it before, is so different from
Yeah,
Airbnb.
the before times. Yeah, you could. I say it to a lot of people. The age of throwing grandma's furniture into a basement and making money are over. I mean,
Yeah.
there's iterations of it, but you got to be a lot more strategic. It's really a maturing. That's how I've said it. It's a maturing market where guest expectations, investor expectations have all risen because they're maturing and it's growing in the iterations.
Yeah. So, yeah, that makes so much sense. And we kind of did a similar thing. Like we rented out our very first house that we bought was back in 2015, and we decided to rent out a room in the house on Airbnb, same sort of concept. And it was very low key sort of scenario, but we just figured we could pay some extra down towards the mortgage if we did this, and made way more money than we thought we would. But we also had a guest in our house, which was just like kind of strange
Yeah,
sometimes. So we didn't do it for very long, maybe like 2 years or so. But it did spark a lot of interest in that, for sure. And it's so funny how it's all evolved from there. I love that. It's such a cool like origin story. So what was the kicker? I know you said you like left three jobs. Like what was the kicker for that third job to finally be like, now is the time, I'm quitting this and I'm not going back to W2? Like what was that mindset? What was that transition looking like? Like why did you officially make that jump?
yeah. I think it came down to viability. Like I mentioned, I had tried, I guess at that time, probably 8 other businesses that I had. I mean, and business is a loose term. I mean, it was, discovery test. Like one, I would take product, like old hammocks that I would find, and then I'd go to trade shows and sell them. And I loved it because I love people. But if you have one bad trade show, it's you just feel so drained because it's in a weekend away in some, talking to a bunch of nice hicks that are at a gun show, trying to convince them to buy a average hammock that you're saying is above average. And so, I mean, I would try things, and that's what I classify business. I wouldn't classify it fully as more test runs. Some were more legit websites, all that jazz. Uh, but the viability part of it is like, oh, okay, I've tried to create forms of replacing my W-2 various times, and this one's more viable. And so really what my wife and I did for 2 years is at the end in December, we would always go on a little mini retreat, just her and I, to some other short-term rental in the area, and just plan out numbers and do some of the finances and say, okay, like what needs to happen for us to hit that goal. And really for us, the goal was, I wanted to quit my job when I turned 30 on my birthday. I want it to be my gift to me because I'm the most important person to me. March 14th, 2020 is my birthday, or was my birthday. And for those that don't remember the date, dun, dun, dun,
What a time.
COVID.
Oh my God, that's
Um,
like actual COVID,
it
like the
was
date
it
of
was
COVID.
the actual day that they announced the world pandemic. We had 95% cancellation, $22,000 of revenue lost in a day, and the business dream was gone, of the viability of it. And I said, well, this sucks. I guess all we got to do is keep going at it. And I was working at Park City. I'm based down in the Salt Lake Valley, and I was working Park City, so I was commuting basically 2 hours a day. But because we weren't commuting, I then had that time to work on the business. And now, hindsight's 2020. 2020 bookings for COVID was just wild. We had one property that was, at the time, it was our premier property. It was a castle on the inside, and outside it was an average home. And I had a neighbor 5 doors down call me, and normally when neighbors call, it's not good. And he said, you run that castle, right? Yeah, yeah. What? Yeah, how can I help you? I want to rent it for a week. Why? You live 5 doors down. I want to be in anybody else's house but my own. And really, there was this huge surge of bookings and more travel markets and things that way. To which then I also got 2 more clients because I was there. And then we set the goal 20 in 2020, which was I wanted to get 20 doors under management in that year. We were able to get to 22, so accomplished the goal, and it provided enough of a viability for us. I would also say too, though, the other piece of this is between my own home. I had 2 homes at the time. Between those 2 homes, really, those 2 homes paid all of my living expenses for the most part. So that most of the money earned really went back into the business and made it a little bit more viable. I think that if we hadn't had bought some real estate assets that were generating a little bit of income, it would have been very challenging for us to continue to, have a business and do it full time, because that's the hardest part, is you still have to provide for yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. So, thinking about your business now, what does it look like?
So now we may have about 100 homes under management, in Idaho, Utah, Alaska, and Guatemala. Um, we have about 13 team members, different iterations, U.S. based in Bolivia. We also have some boutique hotel. I mean, it's multifamily hospitality is really what I call it. Boutique hotel is a very nice word, but ours are of the dump class because they're dump. I mean, saying it, our first one. We bought a polygamous commune in southern Utah and converted it into a hospitality stay place.
Oh my
Uh,
goodness. Is that in
so
Colorado City or?
it's close. Ooh, look at you! It's Kanab, good old Kanab.
Dang.
Our,
I love
our
Canal.
next, yeah, Kanab's great in a lot of ways, but taught us so many lessons. And so since then we've done about 5 or 6 boutique hotel motel iterations with
Mhm.
our team, and we're still learning in that. I wouldn't classify ourselves as true experts in that space yet, but we're a lot more knowledgeable than the average person.
Yeah.
um, and then I guess since then we've really become vertically integrated, for the most part. We design is the one thing that we aren't completely integrated in, and we still work really closely with designers. But really, for those who want to do some tax savings and or utilize some of the short-term rental loopholes, we help them find the home, buy the home, rehab the home, furnish it with partners, and then do the long-term management of that asset. So that, I guess that's kind of where it's come. And granted, it's been 6 or 7 years that we've been building towards that, and we're growing every year. But that's the basics overall of it.
That's so exciting. That, man, you guys have really been crushing it. And it's nice because I have kind of followed a lot of this journey because we've been connected on Facebook for a while. And I know we've talked about a couple of their, collaboration ideas and things like that. So
Yeah,
it's nice to have to kind of be able to watch this because you guys are doing great things. So
some
congratulations
days,
on that.
some
Yeah.
days we are.
I know. Sometimes we had another guest on whose podcast launched this week, and he was like, "Yeah, some days you're like, am I gonna go bankrupt?" And then the next day you're
Yeah,
like, "I'm killing it."
yeah.
Kind of
That's
funny.
a roller coaster. I mean, it's just, you're up and down. And
Yeah.
really, I know it's so dumb, but the other piece of counsel that I'd give to anybody on of our own journey is just ride the roller coaster longer than other people. I mean,
Hmm.
whatever it is the niche or the income stream that you have found. Choose it and just write it, because we actually over the past 3 years have had a lot of success in business acquisition of other management companies like us, and it's only because our goal is to ride the roller coaster longer than everybody else. We're never going to be the best. We're never going to be the biggest because we don't want to. And I mean, we could and all that stuff, but like, I don't want to have a company that manages 5,000 homes. That sounds terrible. That's a lot of screws to turn, and um, I don't want to have to sell my soul for all that stuff. So from that side, but because of it, we've had five companies. Let's see, yeah, we've had five companies that we've bought a contract or bought the entire company um, over the past 2, 3 years. And it's been because people get into something that's challenging and then there's fallout. And just because you're consistent and you're riding the roller coaster longer, people reach out.
Yeah, man, that makes a ton of sense. And what a good piece of advice, because I really do think it's, you have to take action and then you have to just continue to take that action over and over again and really outlast everyone else. And so man, that's really good advice. I appreciate that. Now, tell me, you were a W 2 employee and sounds like maybe not a good one. And then now you're an entrepreneur. And those things are very different, right? You have to have a lot of self-drive and things in order to make yourself successful as an entrepreneur, because somebody's not telling you what to do every day. So are there any habits or routines you've developed to stay focused on your goals and consistent?
Yeah, I mean, I probably could do a lot better. Let's call it. I think probably of the recent trend, the ADHD brain and all that stuff. I subscribe and follow most of that stuff because I is one of those peoples. Um, Really, I think that the long term goal has really given my wife and I just more clarity and really what we're working towards. And if an effort doesn't go towards that, it doesn't make sense. And so for us, I mean, at one point, and so I mean, talking about of that, we launched our company. We were managing probably 60 homes at the time, and I found a problem in our industry, which is cleaning. People still needed cleaning, so I was like, clearly, let's launch a cleaning company because that's what I did as an entrepreneur. And we then scaled it really quickly. We were cleaning 180 homes, we were managing 90, and very successfully failing at all of it because we hired the wrong people. We didn't have SOPs. Um, there just was a lot of dynamics, appropriate accounting, and it really came to a point for us where my wife said, in nicer terms than this, pick us or the family, or pick us as the family or the business. And so because of that, we cut the cleaning business, cut about 50% of our clientele from the management side, and just focused on actually being good managers. Because for me at that time, the goal was 100 doors. I wanted to hit a number, and I wanted to manage 100 because that's what all the gurus and everybody out there in my space, that was a merit badge of success. Realizing that even after we had cut all of these numbers, we then became more profitable just with 50 properties than we ever had with the bigger stuff. Um, and I think that really it came down to the aspect of, at the time, my wife and I just didn't have an established what is the long term, what is that goal. And so for us, we then broke it down and said, like, what does long term success look like? That's a smart goal that's achievable and has all those things, to which we established 10 homes. If by the time that I'm 40, if we have 10 homes within White City Sandy, which is our buy box, that are long term, short term, if I am a terrible landlord at $1,000 a month and I have 10 homes that are paid off in 30 years, that's a great life. And I know it's because I subscribed it a lot to the gurus that, like, we have 500 doors, we do all this, and I thought that's what I wanted, and then realized I don't want that because it sounds terrible. As well as, really, if they're close, if they're here, if other, all those things, then yeah, like, there's always bigger numbers to get, but like for our family and for success of what we want, if I have 10 homes, and really in real estate, in my opinion, if you have 5 homes in the course of your life, you've made it. I mean, really, just I mean, it. I get it. Yes, there's all the numbers and stuff, but like I really struggled with the jealousy. Jealousy is my problem, and I really struggled for that. And still, there's days that I do still, and I just realized that if you have 5 homes anywhere that are paid off and cash flowing at $1,000, like that's great. Like and granted, there's all the systems and formulas to capital expenditures, and I get it, but yet again, if you have 5 homes, you're crushing it in life, really. And work through it. And real estate is a long-term game. It's not a short-term. And I think that that's also a challenge in our world and in the our spheres, which is a lot of people push like there's wholesaling, there's ways to make, which is true if you have appropriate teams and structures and all those things. And it is a great way to do it and leverage to buy permanent assets. But that for me was the challenge, is like, what's a real goal that's accomplished, that something we can accomplish, and really is pretty straightforward. And so that's for us. It was 10 goals, and then we established ride the roller coaster longer than everybody else. We're not getting out of real estate. This is what we're going to do for the rest of our lives. And then the other aspect of it too is rather than New Year's resolutions with detailed things, we pick a word of the year, which is a word that embodies everything that we're going to do. Last year was unleash for us. And we thought it would be the concept of, unleash the hounds, we're going to tear it up. And really what we found is that it was unleashing the chains that bind us down. And it was really cool. We had the chance to go to New York and the Statue of Liberty. And it's one thing I've never noticed, but there's chains at the bottom that she has been unleashed from. And literally as we were passing it, one of our more challenging clients was tearing my wife a new one on the boat in the harbor about how we're terrible. And we were literally looking at the chains and we're like, it's time to let that client go, because that is something that's binding us down. We sold some of our houses that weren't making sense. We got rid of some relationships, and it really has changed it. And the idea too is once we pick a word, it stays with us for the rest of our life. Our very first word that we picked was in 2020, and it was risk. And so that's what we did. This year is value, that we want to add more value. And really, I think what has helped us of picking what the long-term direction is this year. Previous years, it took us days, almost a month to pick a word, because we would think about it. This year, it took us a day. We just thought about it. And because we knew what the long-term goal is, we said, what's something that we can do to focus this year and that's going to enhance things, just like we do every year. And like within a day, we're both like, what about value? And it just stuck. And because we have the long-term vision, it made the short-term goals so much easier, because that's the next step. We need to up our value in whatever ways that it is to go for it. Sorry, I've ranted here a lot longer than I wanted, but there you go. That's
There's
the
so
world
many
according to
points.
Aaron.
Yeah, no, there's so many points in this that I just really love. So I love your word of the year, and value is such a good word, especially given your overall vision and where you are in that trajectory of that vision too. I can see how that's like the absolute perfect word to choose. And then I also relate a lot to your thoughts on the 5 houses and the 10 houses and like not the 5,000, properties or whatever, because I think, I mean, when I got into real estate in like 2022, I was like, yeah, I'm going to own like 10 properties in the next 5 years. And then like my thoughts are after that, I'm going to go for 100, I'm going to go for 1,000, like all this stuff. Well, I got to 10 pretty quickly, and then I was like, okay, I'm good actually. Like I'm gonna pause here for a while, and just not maybe buy anything else at the moment and just see how things are going, because like you said, it's all of a sudden I'm like, man, 1,000, 120 even sounds not fun right now. Like,
Yeah.
so let's just hold on to these and then just keep going from there. So it is funny how that shifts a little bit, because I was like, I don't know about expanding any more than this at the moment. So I can completely relate to that. Thinking about your journey, because you guys are financially independent now, if someone was just beginning their financial independence journey, what piece of advice would you give them in like a 30 seconds or less?
Find your niche and stick to it. My very first boss manager, Jeff Wright, thanks so much for your help. Shout out. He that's what he told me is find your niche and stick with it. And regrettably, I mean, for my experience, it took me like 6 years to find that niche, realizing that there was an industry and then within that niche. But really, the biggest thing that I learned from it is if you can become the guy or the gal for blank, then and stick with it, you will always be that person. And so, and probably the biggest thing that I have learned amongst that is if you stick with something, people remember it, and if you don't, people remember it. Meaning, there's a guy whom I don't know what he does, but he has tried all of it. I also realize he's finding his journey, he's finding his niche, but every year he's launching a new course about helping blank vendors do blank service and helping, blank groups of men to find better health with faith. And I mean, I can tell you laugh because we all know who that friend is. And please, there's a little bit of judgment that I put in that. Also, I have tried to add, provide more grace to people because people are trying to find their path too, and I shouldn't judge them. But the challenge that I have always found is like, why would I, I think of it, why would I try to trust, this form of business to someone who, like, how long are you going to be in this? Are you going to be here in a year? If I want you to be my management company, for the past 4 or 5 years that we've been friends and associates, like, you have changed every year. How do I know you're going to be in it? And so there's actually one guy who I really admire. He has a cleaning company, and I didn't want to give him a chance because he's new, he's upcoming, and there's challenges with that, especially at our scale of hiring a cleaning company that's up and coming. But the moment that he wrapped his vehicle with his company, I was like, you're in, you're committed. And I called him the next day and said, I can tell you're committed because, I mean, if you're going to put that means you're invested in your own company. Let's make a deal. And so I think whatever it is that you're doing is just find that niche. This is longer than 30 seconds. Sorry.
That's okay.
But because I think there's also the human nature, we all want to help each other. And when we hear strife or challenges of people, and we all say, I know a guy, I know a gal, I know somebody. And there's just that natural instinct. So if you can, become that person on somebody's shelf, that you are the window guy, you are the former pharmacist working towards real estate gal, if you're the travel person who does things and says groups, like whatever it is, find that, stick with it. And really what I have found is most of our clients that we're getting this year, I talked to 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Wow. It's just people who, they did something, it didn't work out at the time. And that's also why I've tried to just say, like, okay, if it works out this time, great. If not, just because this one works out doesn't mean the next one won't. I'll still be here. Talk to you in 6 months. Yeah. And there's just real value of sticking with what you're doing and writing the course. And I get, I offer grace that it takes a while for people to find that. It's challenging to find what you like and what you love. And can I do? Don't love your job your love. Just kidding.
I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it's funny because your advice now about finding your niche and sticking with it also ties back into your other advice about just outlasting everyone, right? And just continuing on the same train for a long time, because you don't have to be the best or the biggest, but if you're in the game for the longest, you're still going to succeed, right? And so, I mean, that really comes back to the niche thing as well, because if you combine both of those pieces of advice, like, you're in a really good spot. So yeah. I love that so much. So
I'll add one more thing to it. So I speak Spanish. I really love it. I've tried to use it in my life, but I really love, it's called jerga, or slang, just because there's a lot of lessons and things that come from it. One of my favorite ones is más sabe el diablo por ser el diablo, por ser viejo que ser el diablo. The devil knows more about being the devil because he's old, more than because he's the devil. Oh. And so it's that concept of, this all-powerful figure, the devil, really, he knows how to be a devil and to tempt people off of their path because he's been doing it longer than everybody else, not because he's the devil. So, and I think that there's just a nature of that too. Even when we got on this call. Right now, I'm in a learning curve of our business. We have some legal things that we're working through with a seller finance contract, that there's some disagreements. There's some city code that I'm working through with that. Not to say that we've jumped to that. There's also, I'm very involved at the state level for litigation for short-term rentals. And so the past January has been attorney month. I've just been on the phone with lots of iterations, positive and negative. And it's really great that I'm learning these lessons, though there's some of them are harder, because I just know that in the next time this happens, I'll be like, oh, I know the answer to this because of this. And it's fun as well for me that just because we've been in this longer, as I see people, I'm like, oh, I remember when I was at that phase and learned that lesson. And just because you're in it, you'll be able to say, oh yeah, like just the knowledge base of being in something longer than other people, there's real value with it. And you'll become the devil someday.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I like that. I like that a lot. Well, thinking about, both me and Liz are interested in traveling, getting outside, and having fun alongside building wealth with real estate and other avenues. So, wondering if you have any upcoming bucket list travel that you'd like to share with us in the next couple of years or so. I know you guys just had a little one, so it could be a little difficult.
Not at all. It's actually, travel is the reason where we're at, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we used to live in Mexico. Cozumel, Mexico is where we used to live. And my wife and I probably, I mean, it would have been 7 years ago. We went on a couples retreat, just us for a week back to my island, because that's what I call it, because it's mine. And we were there and we're like, why don't we run a business where we can be in places like this, but still have the business going? And
Yeah.
so it over the course of time, it shifted a lot. And so, but what we do with our family is every July, June or July, subject to the time frame, we travel with our kids to other places for that month and live there, so that really our kids can experience other cultures, learn things. We've done Costa Rica, Mexico a number of times, and basically it's just the opportunity for us to, one, go somewhere, learn and travel, which is part of it, but also there's such knowledge that's gained when you travel places, and the experience. And because our company is hospitality based as well, there's a lot of great ideas, and it's also an opportunity to look at other markets for that.
Mhm.
And because of that, actually, Antigua, Guatemala is a market that was never on my list. But I had a friend who said I like him a lot. He's a nice, crazy Southern guy, and him and his brother, long story short, they got cheap flights from home, went to Antigua, Guatemala over a weekend, and then left having bought land and hired a contractor to put a tiny home on the side of a mountain that you can see two volcanoes from. That was 3 or 4 years ago, and he called me and was like, bro, I'm in this real tight spot. The gang took over the complex and this and that. Can you help me figure this out? I was like, let's go. So beginning January of last year, we went down, we found better contractors, we got things tied in, we got the city, we may or may not have made some strategic donations to appropriate people to make things happen. And we're making great progress on the project. It's in Antigua outside of it, but things like that, really that's why for us travel is very important, more so for the lessons and the friendships, and the world is really big. And I think I'll attribute a lot of that to my parents. My parents, we were very involved in Boy Scouts growing up, and my parents were invited to represent our church at a world jamboree, which is where all the Boy Scouts and girls from the entire world go to a location. And I had the chance to go to England and represent our church, as well as do scouting there. And then we also did one in Sweden. And I realized at that time that I had the gift or an opportunity to connect with people really well, regardless of language.
Mhm.
And so because of that, I realized, okay, I want a business. And it was one of those other pieces of knowledge that helped me realize, okay, this is what I want to incorporate this piece into my long-term niche, which is ironically how the hospitality aspect of it is. I love to travel and I love to meet people because of the experience. And also at the same rate, there's plenty of ways to buy land and use it so that it generates income and all that jazz in any place in the world, subject to what you're doing.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So, but yeah, June, we don't have anything, but we're probably the third thing that we said once our kid got out of mommy was when are we scheduling the passport visit
I
and
love
getting
it.
that, because it's very important for us because we just know that. So we're also based in Utah. There is a lot of Caucasian here. There's a lot of a predominant religion, and we just want our kids to be a little bit more multicultural by spending time in other places. We actually, all of our kids have Spanish names. So, and it comes from our oldest. Our oldest, his name is Clint, but we call him Chucho because when we were in Mexico, nobody could say Clint. They'd be like, "Oh, clean, like Mr. Clean."
Love
And
it.
I did not like anybody calling my kid Mr. Clean. So we passed Chucho's bar and it stuck because I did it as a joke. So we have Chucho, Juancho, and Nacho, um, though they have their American names too. Um, and it's just really the whole intent. I mean, it's coming back as well. Pick your niche and then find your why. I mean, we need to provide for them, thus we have goals for that. But then also with the whole intent of developing decent humans that I like and can grow our family because that's important to us. And really, if you want success, don't have children. I mean, if you want to be highly successful in whatever realm of your world, don't have children because they take everything away from you, take all your time. Um, but if you want fulfillment in the ways that you do and kids are right for you, do it because it's funny. I have two or three friends who are I'm doing well in some ways and poorly in others. They are doing well in all ways, and I'm like, man, how does this guy do it? He just does this and this, and then I'm like, does he have kids? You don't have kids. No wonder. So, um, regrettably, that's the lesson that everybody's going to take from this is like, oh, let's not have kids, honey. And yet again, like I think it comes down to that. Like really, for me, I was so jealous of people, and I wanted to be like other people. And then the moment that I realized I am who I am, and I picked my fulfillment, everything, and realizing I still care about what people think, but like I don't care of having the same goals of other people because they're not mine. I think
Right.
that that's probably really what I'm trying to hammer on is like pick your happiness and whatever it is, and really from there you can build the pieces to find that fulfillment. I wanted a family and I wanted that, and that was important. I have another friend, and she is, oh my gosh, she still puts on concerts for fun, like 5 to 10,000 people concerts because that's what she did in LA, and then they sold it, and that leveraged them into hospitality. They now have an adult only private island, and she's a private chef, and she also was getting into gun sales for just like in the movie War Dogs, and like she was just incredible. And the more and more we talked to her, I was like, "Do you have kids?" She's like, "No, my husband and I don't want kids. We just love our life too much." And my wife and I, we both were like,
That
"Told ya."
tracks.
Um, to which that's her happiness, and I am so happy for her because that's what she wants. I mean, I can't judge her for not having the same thing as mine because it's not her life; it's my life. So
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, if so, are you guys looking for more clients right now, or are you
always,
okay? So, how can people get in touch with you?
yeah, call me, beat me if you want to reach me. 801-623-6885. You can call me. Conmigo Vacation Rentals is our company. You can find us on socials at Stay Conmigo. Really, I'm very law of abundance. I want to try to be straightforward. So like, call me if you have problems. And really, it comes down to we once had a very severe problem 6 months into managing that was, I mean, would have been catastrophic. It would have pushed us out. Um, Sparing most of the details. At that time, I realized that I didn't have a community, and so I created some Facebook groups as well, and tried to be more law of abundance focused. That's how you and I connected. Is just when a problem happens, I want to be able to be a resource. And this week, I've actually had two people that they had notices from cities that called, and because of some of my connections, I'm able to not solve the problem, but get them some better resources. And that's really a fulfilling part to me is that I was in such a pinch and nobody helped me. And so from that standpoint, really law of abundance, let's work something out. If not, no worries. Like I'm not going away. We'll just wait till the next one.
I love that. I love that. Well, thanks so much for joining us today. I feel like I learned so much, and your journey is really inspiring. And I love the background of the W 2, the transition into where you are today, and just that like tenacity that you guys have shown through this process. Because, short term rentals have been kind of an up and down game, and you guys have been super, super consistent. So, really appreciate
Thanks.
you sharing all of your knowledge today. And thank you so much, everyone, for listening to this week's episode of From Corporate to Cashflow. We will catch you next week. Hey, it's Andrea. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you liked it, I'd love it if you hit subscribe. Thanks so much.